This is Listening with Franklin Livingston, and our listening guest is Emma Skolozdra.
Hello, friends. Today we have Emma Skolozdra. Emma is a theatre minor.
Yep.
She is a novelist. She has written 100 pages of a novel.
Yeah.
She is learning how to write a screenplay. She wants to act, not only on theatre, but also on a film set, right?
That would be great.
And we wish her well.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming here today.
Of course, I'm excited.
You're on spring break.
I am on spring break.
You drove an hour and 20 minutes
Yep.
to get to the studio, which is so great. Thank you for your commitment today
Of course.
here, and you're a fun person. I truly enjoyed whenever we talked.
Yeah.
So tell us about you. Where were you born? What was going on then versus now?
I was born in Bridgeport, at a little hospital. I was a preemie. I was only 3.5 pounds. So I had to stay in the hospital for 13 days. And my parents couldn't hold me for like 9 days. It was really sad. They were like not really sure. It felt weird to them because they couldn't feed their baby. They couldn't hold their baby. It was weird.
So you were a miracle child, because
Yeah.
now
I
if
was
someone
baby.
looks at you, they can't tell.
No, they
Right.
can't tell.
And Bridgeport is it's in Connecticut,
Yeah.
so from New York City, it's like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
You were born in a hospital, right?
I was born in the
And
hospital.
then they took you home when? After 9 days?
13 days.
13 days.
Yes.
And you're the oldest in this household.
Yes.
You have a younger brother.
Yes.
So when you went home, what does your mom tell you? How was it for them then when they were able to hold you up, feed you?
They were so happy that they were finally able to take care of me and be with me. And my 3 older siblings enjoyed taking care of me and feeding me and holding me too.
Oh, they were living in the same house?
They lived in New Jersey, but they came up to visit a lot.
Mm.
And we had a condo in New Jersey too. So I got to see them a lot. They got to hold little baby Emma.
So you were a miracle child, still are, but in terms of your birth and being
Yeah, it was a
saved
C-section.
from.
My mom had
Yeah.
preeclampsia, so she had to get me out.
Mhm. So what does your mom tell that? Were you very special to her because you were not
Yeah.
that born that easily, and then your survival for 9
She
days?
said that her dream for her whole life was to have a baby girl. So she got that.
Cool. So now you grew a bit older,
Yeah.
and were parents extremely protective of you? Like, oh my God, this kid already was born with great difficulty and survived, and we should be extra careful, or no?
They were, but also I had a lot of anxiety. I was very attached to them, so it was more so I was very attached.
No, anxiety in what age?
My parents said they noticed it since 6 months old. When I was 4, I started going to therapy and I got diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder. I've been in therapy my whole life basically for OCD.
Hmm. So, do you have memories from when you were 4, how you were raised, and how did the household look like? Well disciplined, strict, very moral based, don't do this, do that, religious? What was it that was going on?
I don't have any memories, more so a lot of things were like on the video camera, so I have that. But
That's great, actually. Oh, that's me. Okay.
yeah, I was like, I can't remember if I remember it or if I just remember seeing whatever.
But you still have some sort of memory,
Yeah.
documented or
It's
undocumented.
there.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know what we were talking about.
We were talking about when you were a 4-year-old kid.
Yes.
How were you? What did you do? Break things or kicked football, or what did you see on those video cams?
A lot of dancing. I started dancing when I was 2. With little mommy and me classes, and I just kept doing it because I loved it so much. Definitely like playing outside with my siblings, and once my younger brother was born, I would dress him up in all these fun costumes. He was a saint. He
So
literally
what's the age difference between
3 years. So
So when you were 4, he was born?
yeah.
Oh,
I would literally just like dress him up in little tutus, and like we would play with my stuffed animals and just like do all the little girly things whenever I wanted.
cool. So, was it a more like a privileged household in terms of, did you ever notice your parents struggling with something?
I never noticed when I was a kid, no.
And it was very calm and privileged household.
Yeah.
What were the demographics of your neighborhood? Do you remember? Were you allowed to go on the street to play or no?
We were really friends with our neighbors. It wasn't there
You
weren't
were
any
not?
like no,
No.
there weren't any kids in the like in
Hmm.
on our street really. There was like one family down the road that I played with, I think. But there wasn't a lot of young kids, so we didn't really get out and meet the neighbors a ton. It's not that kind of like street. Um, so I didn't really play on the road.
Hmm. So what did you do? Just play with your toys or with your video game? Was it like it wasn't that old, so it was not like on VHS.
Yes, it was.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
It's not like a phone.
Oh
Like, it
yeah.
was, like,
So it was
specifically
like
a video
cassette thing.
camera, yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
I think it was like a DVD maybe.
Still, yeah, yeah. They don't have that in cars anymore.
No.
Things have changed.
No, they don't.
So it was only you and your brother.
I mean, I had 3 older siblings.
Yeah. Oh, who came from New Jersey to
Yeah.
Beverly. Gotcha. And how were your parents' attitude toward the children? Strict, very formal, very lax, or
Like a mix. Like I don't think I would have described them as being strict. They were always very supportive.
in what way? Like, how would you describe someone being supportive
Like
to the parent,
I think
to
in
the
terms of
children?
like my grades, like they were never like on me, like upset if I didn't do well or something. I mean, maybe because I did well. um, but like even they're just very
You
supportive.
should
They
have
just
tried to fail it
I know, just see what
and
happens.
see what happens. Yeah.
But they always knew that I was doing my best and they supported that and they just wanted to be there for me. Even
But this is when you were older than 4,
yeah,
right?
yeah, I guess.
No, I mean, I was like, were you getting grades when you were 4? Like, what
No.
school were you in?
No. When I was 4, that was when I first started like really experiencing the OCD. So OCD, like you need to give into your compulsions in your brain, like to satisfy it. And
Yeah, actually, tell us more. There might be people who might not know
yeah,
fully. For example, I just know that if things are not organized and a person is an OCD, they'll come and they'll.
that's actually not super what it is. Like
Mm.
everybody always thinks that. They're always like, "Oh, I need to turn this a little bit. It's not right. I'm so OCD." That's actually not like
Mm.
correct. That's kind of like invalidating for like experiences because OCD is debilitating. It's not like, "Oh, I'm a little uncomfortable." It's like things have to be perfect or I'm extremely uncomfortable. I can't go to sleep. It started out when I was 4, I was experiencing like I had to record everything on TV just in case I ever wanted to watch it. And I would never watch it, but it just had to be there just in case. I wouldn't feel right if it wasn't there. I also think I didn't like throw stuff out. I don't think I kept trash, but just like anything that could ever be deemed any value I had to keep just in case I ever needed it. Like everything had to be perfect. It gets in the way of like living normally. So
just having a sense of something you liked, not that necessarily you go and, for example, it's a TV show, you'll go and watch it, but having a thought of having that thing, like
yeah.
having a sense that I've got it, I've saved it, and I'm all good.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So embracing to different kinds of things. Is it things or it also could be a living person or a plant or could be an animal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
hmm
I mean, that's really new. To see, I did not know that.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know it, and it's like frustrating because I've had teachers like be like, "Oh, I'm so OCD," and I'm like, "That's not what it is."
No, that's great. Like that's one of the reasons I invite people of different walks of
Yeah.
life and with their different situations
Yeah.
and conditions and struggles, if you will,
Yeah.
because a lot of us don't know what's
Mhm.
going on in other person's life and why are they different.
Exactly.
And
You
when
never
they are,
know.
yes, and when they are different, that condition or situation gives birth to the belief system,
Yeah.
right? If they believe they gotta document everything,
hmm
it might be rooted in something else than we think.
Yeah.
And our perspective might be wrong or shallow. So empathy begins by understanding next person's actual situation, not having an idea or assumption about
Right.
that thing. So I'm really glad that you came over, and I really wanted to talk about all this because I have had friends. I know someone, for example, uh, his wife used to use the term a hoarder
Hmm.
because that gentleman keeps everything in terms of receipts, let's say.
Yeah, yeah.
So restaurant receipts and a lot of stuff. And then I know I had an uncle who was very handy,
Hmm.
and he had a room full of every sort of tool and paints and oils and stuff. And I'm so opposite both these people, and I am the kind of guy who would get it fixed whenever something needed to be fixed, or I
Right.
wouldn't even worry about getting a receipt from a gas station or whatever. So I did not know. I thought maybe these are choices
Yeah.
because I never understood and they never shared. And we should be grateful we live in the era where a lot of these diagnoses have been passed on to an average
Hmm.
man and woman because, say, 20 years ago, 40 years ago, 100 years ago, a lot of people didn't know
Yeah,
about a lot of
definitely.
stuff, and it was just considered a norm
Yeah.
that maybe they belong to this group
Right.
and I belong to this group, and that's why different, and there was no connection,
Yeah.
right? But I think if like I had more than one guest here on the show who talked about being dyslexic or having
Dyslexic?
that. Yes,
Dyslexic.
the word I can't say. So with dyslexia,
Dyslexia.
dex,
Is it S? The S is first.
say it again,
Dyslexia.
dyslexia,
Yeah.
dyslexia,
Yeah.
right? And they teach us it now,
Yeah.
and I think one gentleman maybe he was in 50, the other one might be maybe 20. So the thing is, if teachers had known, the teachers might have been a better aid to the
Absolutely.
students, right?
Yeah.
And someone in your situation now, being an actress, you might want, yeah, you might want to see how I did that scene. I know a very legendary actor. He's not from the U.S. And someone who worked with him, I heard him sharing that this gentleman, he wants to see his scene
Hmm.
and show it to people he trusts
Yeah.
before it's released,
Yeah.
right? So he can get critique, constructive criticism.
Mhm.
But what if he has something like OCD? I don't
Yeah,
know,
you
right?
don't know.
But
Exactly.
it's better to understand that that might be their need
Hmm.
versus, oh, they just want it,
Right.
and
That's
I don't really care if they want it.
exactly. It was really hard for my mom to find like a therapist for me at 4 because they were like, "Oh, she's just a brat. Like she's just being bratty. She just like wants everything." And like, no, I was actually struggling with something. I was actually going through something.
Mhm.
So
So, what changes did your parents make in their uh, treatment or the way they dealt with you so your needs were being met?
I mean, so the thing with OCD is if you give in to what your brain is telling you, it actually gets worse. So if I were to record all those things, it would just feed the cycle and I would just keep having to do it over and over and over again. But you want to break the cycle so you aren't suffering like that, which is hard. It also causes you to suffer and
Suffer,
be in
yeah.
pain. But I mean, for a while my parents would just give in to the things that I needed because they didn't know like what to do because they wanted me to feel comfort in that moment. But the comfort in that moment was not helping me. So over time I think they transitioned to not giving me those things, not letting me fulfill the like irrational thoughts that my brain wanted to do. Which I think definitely caused some conflict because it was like awful for me to go through that.
Mm.
So we were like butting heads a little bit because they were trying to stop me, and even though I knew that that's what I needed, it still wasn't fun. So a little conflict there, I guess.
Yeah, no, I can relate to that. Unfortunately, I have had friends, addicts
Yeah.
of different uh, things, and it's always recommended that their circle must be broken.
Mm-hmm.
But when you try to break the circle, they think you are trying to control them, or just like they would get frustrated, and depending how they are, they might get violent.
Yeah.
I'm talking about like older adults, not like a
No.
4-year-old
Yeah.
kid. But unless you break that cycle,
Mhm.
you can't really aim for healing or transformation. So
Right.
that makes sense to me. Why
Yeah.
would? But it must be very hard for your parents to break that cycle and deal with a kid,
Exactly.
right?
I was 4. Like.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a story came to my mind. I don't know if it really connects, but once a king from the subcontinent went to Africa and brought back 2 parrots,
Okay.
right? And he placed the parrots in that cage. You know, they hang and then they talk to parrots. Parrots talk. Do you know that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, cool. And after a year, the king wanted to travel back to Africa.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked these parrots that, hey, I'm going to go back and I probably will see the guy I got you guys from. Do you have any message for rest of your tribe there?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
The parrots.
the parrots,
Yeah.
And these parrots said, yes, when you meet our tribe and tell our elder that we are fine in the cage of the king. Right. So he was like, okay, I'll let them know that you're doing great and you're in my cage.
Yeah.
So the king went to Africa. He met with the guy who gave the king these 2 parrots, and then king met with the elder of the parrots,
Mm-hmm.
parrot tribe, right? And king said, hey, I've got you 2 guys, and they were saying we are fine in the cage of the king. When this elder heard that, he just choked and died.
Oh.
And the king felt sad that maybe he couldn't bear the shock. King returned. He was a little sad, but he wanted to share that news with his parents. And he
Mhm.
said, give your message to your elder, and your elder couldn't hear it, and he just died.
Yeah.
When these parents heard that, they also choked and died. Have you heard this story before?
No, but that makes sense.
Okay. Now, King told his employee or servant or whoever was there, throw these out. Because that was just a dead bird. When the servant threw these parents out, they actually began flying.
So they weren't dead?
They were not dead. They came back to the king, and king said, oh, you tricked me? Oh my God, you guys are not dead? You lied to me, you deceived me, blah, blah, blah. They said, look, we conveyed to our leader that we are fine, means we are okay, we are able to fly, but we are caged.
Yeah.
We are inside a cage. And the elder sent us a message through his action that in order to live, you gotta die. Right?
That's cool.
And he didn't die. He just showed that
Yeah.
this is the way you got to do it. So this is what we did. Okay, thanks for your hospitality.
That's interesting.
Bye. So a lot of times healing,
Yeah.
physical healing, emotional healing,
Mhm.
psychological healing, or any other issue we humans struggle with, it starts with death. What is death? It's being parted away. It's a separation.
Mm-hmm.
It's not termination. Because when we take a seed, it dies to the soil
Yeah.
in order to become a plant, right?
Mhm.
And can we say the seed got terminated? No. The same way, our habits, our struggles. I always give this example that, hey, you want healing? Okay, you got to have an injection and they'll poke you. That pain
Yeah.
or suffering, some people can tolerate it better than the others, but some people, oh my God. So it starts there, breaking the cycle. And it's great to hear that, how it works. So fast forward a little bit. When you were, say, 6 or 10, Then what happened? How did you overcome, or still it was more parents? Did any teacher help you?
Um, I don't know if this was OCD based or more just anxiety, but when I was in kindergarten, I was really afraid to take the bus. And this teacher would give me like one of those little squeaky things, like it's a little like animal, I don't know. It's like a little kid
Toy?
toy. It's a
Oh,
toy, yeah. Um, like every time I would successfully ride the bus, and I would take them with me, and it would make me feel better. So that was good.
that's great. So you
Yeah.
developed a relationship with a toy.
Yeah.
But was it again the same having something all the time with you?
I don't know. I don't think it was like an OCD thing that I liked having the toy. I think it was just like, hey, someone's looking out for me. Like, this is nice.
Even if that's a toy.
Yeah. Well, I meant the teacher.
The teacher, sorry.
She was a teacher's aide or something. Like, her thinking of me and caring enough to do that made me feel like I could be a little bit stronger.
Hmm. And do you think it was only you, or I know it's a very generalized question, but anyone who's going through an anxiety can feel better in the presence of someone they know uh care for you?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I mean, I don't want to speak for everyone, but like generally, like support is always nice.
Because see, that's the thing where we live in such an individualistic culture where being vulnerable and open is not easy,
Yeah.
and taking help and support from someone, uh, it's just like something we're not used to.
I think in some ways, having done therapy since I was 4, it helps me to be more vulnerable and just so open about everything. Like I can just come on here and talk about anything it because I've been doing it my whole life. Like I'm not scared of it.
Mhm. Yeah, I think you were really, really brave, and you are. I agree with you the way you relate. As you would use, I think you use this commonly that I don't care.
Yeah.
You know, like you use that phrase commonly, and that reflects of who you are. But it's so unfortunate a lot of people just can't, and a lot of people can't even reach out to say to people they know or trust that I need help.
Yeah.
And then the other side, they begin asking because I've been in these situations on both the sides. The other side would assume, oh, they need something that they want my money,
Right.
they want something out of me,
Right.
and in general, we are not trained to think they might just need my presence. They
Yeah.
might not need anything else from me.
Yeah. It's not about that. It's just about feeling cared for.
Cared for. And your few words of hope, might become a fuel to the life.
Yeah.
Those might be life giving.
Sharing
Or
listening.
listening. Sometimes
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing I struggle is we don't have time to listen to other people, right? And I'm smiling because whenever we come into our buildings, I say, "Hey, how you doing?" But the answer is great, good. How about you? Great, good. And no one would say because it's not where. Yeah. Why don't you come to my office? Let's chat for a little bit. You want coffee? And different. I think different states or different cities have a whole different culture. I still remember in one of the Midwestern cities, I went with someone who was then in his 50s to pick up one of this guy's friends from the airport.
Yeah.
Who flew from California. So he
Okay.
flew probably for maybe 6 or 7 hours.
A long
Right?
way, yeah.
Long flight. And it was around 2-ish afternoon, I remember. We picked him up, and his friend who came from California said, "Hey, could you stop somewhere? I'm hungry. I want to grab a bite to eat." And this gentleman stopped in front of a Subway.
Yeah.
And asked him to just go and get whatever he wanted.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't like that fully. Because I was like, okay, he's not gonna walk in with him
Yeah.
or at least buy him. And what was the sandwich like? Back then, I think it was $10 or
Yeah.
$9, the whole meal thing. And this guy was well to do. It wasn't that this guy didn't have money. He
Yeah.
was probably more high middle to slight elite type
Yeah.
guy, and but the gesture was strange to me
Yeah.
because you could walk with this guy, you can listen to some of his experience. What if he had an awful experience on that airplane?
Yeah.
Domestic flights haven't been really great
Mhm.
for the past, I don't know,
Yeah.
a decade or so. But that's the culture we live in.
Right.
And I do remember I was more like a guy who had no voice, but I did walk with the Californian dude, and I'm gonna go with you. But it's very sad, and I always hope and still hoping, even through this show, we could listen and adapt and maybe make some changes. Sometimes it's just a little bit of change
Yeah.
within our habits, within our trends, can make someone else's life easier.
Exactly. That's really important to me too. For sure.